when I sit in front of you guys, it's actually a very intimidating type of thing to do for me because I know it's not like I'm talking to a group of like Clemson students who don't know what they want to do yet, or who are in accounting and say they might have an interest in film. It's like you guys all know how to be directors. You've all done it, and you're probably better at it than I am. So
it's hard to pretend we know what we're talking about.
No. And we've definitely rehearsed this. Gunnar and I go way back.
Start off a little bit about each of you, your background.
Yeah.
Why are you here?
For sure. It's a very existential question. Why am I here? So I started, and I guess
Please,
I can go first.
Please,
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely, yeah. Do not hesitate.
I started out as most of us, and I was just telling Joe this the other day, on a Handycam Sony, filming on mini DV tape. I had 4 younger siblings, and would just write stories of the stupid shit that you come up with when you're 12, and then tell them what to do and what to act out, and we just go film stuff, and then have like an evening of showing that to the family and kind of the different movies that we made, everything from stop motion to puppets, you name it. We did all kinds of stupid shit, but then ended up going to film school at University of Texas in Austin. About a year in, got cold feet and thought, how am I going to make a living in film? And went into my my career advisor and said, hey, I think I'm going to change my major to advertising. And he said, okay, and walked me through the whole thing. And I changed majors, or I applied to the school and had to, get accepted into that new major. But when I was leaving and I walked out of the career advisor's office, a woman from the office next door came out. She said, hey, I heard the whole conversation. I hope you don't mind. I was eavesdropping, and I just thought I should tell you, like, you could double major in film. Obviously, you have a love for it, an knack for it, and I never even knew that was an option, as a 19-year-old. So I ended up double majoring, started my own production company about a year later, ran that for 4 years, doing mostly commercial stuff, and then moved to LA, worked for a development company called Revelations Entertainment for about a year. That's Morgan Freeman's production company. So reading scripts and show Bibles and novels for any type of genre work, documentary, reality, usually with some sort of angle of like, okay, is there a role for Morgan in this production? PA'd on a couple different TV shows for Morgan's company, movies, and then moved out here. Started working at Cargo. I've been here 8 years, so that's why I'm here. But I will say the one thing I learned in film school, there's only one thing I learned, is that everybody wants to be a director. I sat down, at least when you first start. I sat down in my very first film class ever in school and thought, this is the most exciting moment ever, and I'm gonna be a director. And the professor, first words out of his mouth were, all right, raise your hand if you want to be a director. And literally the 300 student lecture room, every single person put their hand up, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be tough. And then the second words out of his mouth were, all I can tell you guys is shop the world and steal from the best. So I never forgot that. It was just, the best directors, the best advertisers, whatever it might be, we're literally, I don't know if I've ever had an original thought in my entire life, to be honest with you. It's, look around, shop what you like, see what other styles people are doing and what they're shooting, and just, do it better. Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't really know what I'm doing here. if you guys want to learn how to make money directing, do not ask me, because I don't know. But what I do know is I've been making movies since I was 15, which is farther away than I'd like it to be, I guess. But I grew up in the Spartanburg, Greenville area, making movies with my friends, just like this guy, I'm sure, just like everyone here. And I got an agent as an actor out of Atlanta, and I was lucky enough to be on a lot of different productions, just learning how things are done firsthand. I've been lucky enough to be on productions where, in acting sense, I'm just the guy that says, "Oh no," and then it cuts to the other scene, and it's like that was me. But it allowed me to see how things were done, which was really nice. And
were you in that short film about the date?
The what?
About the date? Where the short film it played at the Gut Punch. Was that you?
Was it mine? What? What short?
Sorry, I was in it too. It just came out last week.
Yeah,
It just came out last week.
that was you.
What short? Does no one tell me a short? I was.
Trouble Date. Yeah.
Oh my God! Yes, yes.
I was like, I was trying to remember where I recognized you from.
Oh,
That's what it
my
was.
goodness.
Yeah.
Yes. I was absolutely in that, and my good friend directed that. I am an idiot. Yes. I was like, I don't remember. I guess you say date, and I thought, I don't remember last time I acted. Yeah. But yes, I was in that. I was very sweaty and trapped in a bathroom in that short. Yeah, that was great.
It was great.
But my experience directing really is just making a heck of a lot of shorts, most of them bad, and learning how to get better with each one. My second from last short I made got the Indie Grants grant, which was a really great experience. And I have been trying to make a feature for the past 2.5 years and have learned how to fail many different ways in doing that. So that's kind of where I'm at. I've learned all the no money, no one to tell you what to do lessons of directing. So that's me.
Cool. The first question, I'll go ahead and start with you guys.
Okay.
Kind of go through what are some of the common things you would see, either tools or roles, or one thing is like, what kind of director are you going to be? You're going to focus more on actors or more on the camera, or whatever. Just kind of start with some of the basic structure.
Sure. Do you want me to start? Or you
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, you mentioned focus on acting or the image. I have found that people who only focus on one regret it later. Me being one of those people, you really need to have a good understanding of both, I feel like. And I know that's tough. I know theater directors who went into film who are really great with actors, who have told me point blank they don't care about the image, and it shows. And it distracts the audience, and it that's half the story you're telling. But at the same time, I know people who came from camera who could, paint the most beautiful image, and then it's stilted and it's missing that life that you really want. So I think just know what your weaknesses are and take the effort to learn about like how you, I guess I'll say it this way, figure out what will make you love the other side that you don't know, and then let that be your style, if that makes sense. That's what I've learned. It's just I am not very good with tech, but I know enough to be able to tell my crew what I want, and I know enough to know like what different lenses will do, and I know what different lighting will do. I just don't know exactly how to do it, but I know enough to say, hey, this is the image I want. And I also, that allows me the time with the actors that I want as well, to be able to have the prep and the knowledge of the image. So you're not on set going, what the hell am I doing? So that's what I would say.
Yeah. No, I mean, the only thing I would add to that is, somebody told me one time that you can't set out to just decide what kind of leader, what kind of director you want to be. You have to just figure out who you are first.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about authenticity. You can't fake it. People will know if you're acting. If you're really a journalist, a documentarian, posing as a narrative director, people are gonna see right through it. So you have to be all in on whatever style, whatever project. Honestly, every single project you decide to take on as a director, if you are not 100% bought in to telling that story, and you have a reason, an immovable reason why you are doing that project, then it's going to fail. And when I say immovable, I mean it can't be money, and it can't be fame. It has to be some sort of I don't know, universal truth that you are fighting for. That's the only thing that is really going to make it matter to the world. You know what I mean? So that'd be all I'd say about that. Yeah.
What? Just had it. It's there.
We believe in you.
It's the question about directing.
Hot damn.
Narrowed down. Here we go.
Why is it so popular?
Why does everybody think they want to do it? Because they haven't done it. Probably.
That's a good point.
I
Yeah.
was just thinking about it and then I looked away. Why does the director get so much credit?
Why
When
do
it's a whole team doing it?
That is a good question.
Why does the director get all the credit?
Well, traditionally, and I'm probably very guilty of this as well, they're usually the one with the biggest egos on set too, which you kind of have, like, the balance. You have to always check yourself as a director, because you have to believe, and if not yourself, the project, enough to get it going. Kind of, you have to start a train all by yourself. And those type of personalities tend to be big egos in general, So I feel like that's a big part of it. But I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with it. I feel like that I'm someone that, I wish it wasn't that way, but I agree that it is. And it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's just a job that attracts a lot of the, there's a big filter to go through to get a movie made, and it tends to be the people with the biggest head break through easier.
Yeah, no, it is true. Like it does take an immense amount of confidence in your own self and your own ability, I think, and not necessarily like, yes, sometimes confidence comes out in arrogance, or in narcissism as a unfortunate side effect. But I get exactly what you're saying, Gunnar, because in order to be able to stand in front of somebody that is willing to give you $500,000 for a project that you're leading, that does take a certain degree of confidence and knowledge, and ability, honestly, public speaking, because sometimes you might be presenting to a group of investors or potential investors, and really, we live in a society that searches for iconic leaders. I think I saw something the other day, like Russell Brand, of all people, was like, the human beings are designed to worship, and I think he was saying it in some religious sense, right? But just that if we're not worshiping directors, then we're worshiping money, or people generally will find some person or thing in life to worship and dedicate their time to. And so when you look at the way films are made, as human beings, I think we always look to, like, okay, but who is the one person really who's responsible for this output. Really, it can be 250, 300 people that really should be credited, but as humans, we just kind of always look for that one.
I agree. Yeah.
And everyone wants to be the one.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. We'll let Tim come on in there.
Oh yeah.
Hello.
Hello, Tim.
Tim.
Yeah, you sit there.
I'm going to scoot up a little bit because I've been doing this the whole time.
Hey, David.
Tim, good to see you.
Thanks, man.
All right, no microphones.
Tim, I'll let you take the next question.
Great. What's the next question?
Next question is, you always hear writer-director or producer-director, or there's always some other title they have with director. I've even heard some people say if you're a director, you have to write so that you know story, pretty much. What is do you think that's essential, or how does that branch into bleeding into all the other departments? Because
Sure.
if you're the head of the departments, you have to work with other things. So
Yeah, I think first let's build a context of, like, are we talking about doing like commercial work? Or are we talking about creating your own narrative content? Because I think those are different spaces. Obviously, it's commercial work. You work for hire. You get hired to do the job. You're not necessarily writing it. Maybe you get to write it, but usually not the case. I know a lot of directors who are also DPs, so that's really great for commercial work. But strictly in a narrative sense, I would say it is beneficial if you can do a secondary job on that movie, because you're often the one who's going to have to push that thing across the finish line. And maybe you have a producing partner who's great, but if you're starting out or if you're newer to it, haven't built those relationships, those networks yet, I think it's really helpful if you're writing that story and then maybe directing that story and maybe also producing that story. A lot of times, if it's your thing and it's your first one and you haven't built that larger finance network specifically or that distribution network, you are going to do a lot of the jobs. So I did I've directed a feature film, and I co-wrote it, and I produced it, and I edited it, and I paid for it. And so at the end of the day, you're doing all of that. Hello. So
Zoom
is
in,
it,
Tim.
yeah, is it essential? It's not essential. I mean, I think what's essential is your network and the people you're going to collaborate with.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's essential. And having people who compliment you, who are going to encourage you, and that you're going to do the same to them, and you lift each other up. Because I have friends who just want to write, and I love to direct their stuff because I don't have to write it, which is beautiful. And I like producing for people, so they don't have to do that because I know how stressful that is for me. So I think that is essential. But I don't want to say that, like, I mean, if you can write, and then also direct. If you know how to produce, then produce and direct. Also, you retain so much control if you can do those things. And it's fewer people to pay. So not saying it's essential, but man, it's super helpful.
and then go ahead and give us your quick background.
Okay, yes. So my name's Tim. Hello, I'm late. So yeah, I've been making things for a long time. Oh my God, at least 20 years now. So I have a feature film that I mentioned. I did that about 10 years ago, and it devastated me, and I've been too scared to do it again since then. But I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, and I had co-founded the Jacksonville Film Bar in Jacksonville, and then I moved up here, and Rhodes and I, talked about starting this. Most of you have never seen me before, and so because initially when we started it here, it was just Rhodes and I, and then it started to take off, and I was like, bye, and Rhodes has ran with it since. So really, it's Rhodes who is, you're all here because of Rhodes. But then as far as my work, I was an editor for the Food Network for a long time, and then after that, actually it was after COVID hit, a lot of live events turned into online events, and I got connected with some agencies and started directing and producing and doing post for various agencies and larger companies, and that's what I do now. So I'm a freelance director and producer, and that, I think, is the background, yeah. So, yes.
Did either one of you want to answer the question as well? About being a dual role or working with other departments?
No, I don't think I'm as good as a speaker as these two, so I'm just going to agree with him, maybe. But I think the biggest thing is kind of what you said. It's the biggest. There's no drawbacks really, other than like there's a lot of work, but learning what it takes to do those roles will make you a better director. So I say that if you're starting out and it's going to be hard to find a producer anyway, and you want to get your movie made, so be a producer, learn what that takes. Again, learning story has been the greatest help for me as a director. So I think it's not necessarily in the sense of getting any movie made, but I think the benefits vastly outweigh any kind of definite heartache you're going to have by doing it. So
I found out Joe of his story thing too. Like, you don't necessarily have to be a writer, but like if you don't know story, I don't know what it is you're directing.
Yeah.
So like that is super crucial. Like you don't have to be. I'm terrible at grammar. Like I'm awful at grammar. My spelling's terrible. Don't read any early drafts because they're atrocious. But if you don't know theme and story and character motivation and even just human psychology, like I don't know what it is as you as a director are going to be bringing to the table. So I think that's super important that you at least know story, even if you're not the writer. Like that is crucial. That's paramount.
Yeah, I would agree. You know, you don't need to be a writer, but you need to be an editor for sure.
Yeah.
Because the best way to learn how to direct is to edit another director's shit. And
I learned on my own.
my own shit. or edit your own shit.
You go, oh my God, what was I doing
Yeah,
here?
oh my God.
Was I doing anything?
No, for real. It's like
What's taking so long? Oh, it's just a few more cuts.
Let's keep. Let me go cry real quick.
Yeah, but honestly, you can identify the holes in the story a lot easier when you're stitching it together in the edit bay. You know, you can see like, oh, you know, I really wish I would have got an insert shot of this thing here because it would help communicate what I want people's eyes to be drawn to. So that would be the only thing I would add to that is like edit as much as you can. I don't care if it's like you're just pulling a bunch of stock footage down off Shutterstock with watermarks all over it to try and stitch a story together. Like that's how you'll become a better director, is just by looking at, okay, exposition, wide shot. Let me see how I can stitch that together with, okay, now I want people to pay attention to this thing. So I'll have an insert, just kind of mapping out your story using literally any footage. But yeah, that's all I would
I
add.
wouldn't use that when people say I'm a director. Oh, you're an editor.
Yeah. And jumping off that real quick, you're absolutely right. But also, I know a lot of directors where it's kind of, especially starting out, you want to be a director, so you don't want to do anything but directing. But being on other people's sets, even as a PA, even as anything, not only getting that community that you really need, but I can't tell you how many times I've been on set and going, not doing that. Never doing that.
For sure.
Or definitely doing that.
And that's both true for the technical part and just your behavior.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Like, I'm not gonna act like that guy.
Yeah. Especially as an actor, where I've worked with so many great directors, but like 80% bad. So, I've done like those like reenactment crime shows. I've done that, and it's as bad to shoot them as it is to watch them. So just don't be afraid to like just do an experience so you learn, because learning how not to make a movie is just as important.
Actually, like the Edison light bulb thing. Like, there's 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb. There's 1,000 ways not to make a movie.
I've got 20 more questions, I'm sure, but anybody else out here?
You said that, everybody in the class, 300 people raised their hand. And since we're on that conversation, I'm wondering, what are some of the practical things, not on the front end, obviously if you're freaking amazing picture, great director, and have a great film. But on the back end, what are people looking for on cast, like you said, crew, but also people to hire you that really want to hire a good director? What kind of puts you up in front of the pack on the production side?
That's a good question. Yeah, so you're talking like stylistically, what can you do to have a unique voice?
No, not stylistic. I'm saying not that end, not the final product, not the vision, not the beauty, not the story. Being a great director and leading people well on set.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Building cred?
Oh, so like you're in production, you're shooting the movie right now. How do you come across?
What makes you a good director?
I think, like with pretty much any position, being cool, but also like you're dictating the attitude of the set too. So like, the pressure's on you, the stress is on you. You're gonna be tired. You have long days. Just if you're shooting days, you're gonna have long nights. If you're shooting nights. You show up with the energy that you want to have on set, and people are gonna follow that. So you come in with your bad attitude. Again, you're gonna be tired. I came in on my feature film so many times just not in a good mood, and it affects the whole day. It affects everybody else is affected by that. So I learned that a hard way. If you come in just like, yeah, man, we're gonna be positive, have a good attitude, and you can still be like, man, that today's rough, but tell that to your AD and tell that to your producer, like, man, I'm just exhausted. Cool, let them know. Everyone else be like, yeah, man, we're gonna go make this thing. I'm excited. I'm so glad you're here. I think I think Napoleon supposedly did this, but like he learned the name of like all of his soldiers. So like if you know everybody who's on set and what they're doing, so you can thank them. I actually just heard, I think it was a gaffer saying how much he liked working with Bill Hader because Bill Hader just thanked everybody and knew everybody's name and exactly what they did. That goes a long way because like a lot of the jobs are thankless. I mean, people enjoy doing them. They get paid and they like being gaffers and grips. But when you're with your friends and other people who are trying to climb ladders to get to places, like these are people who are volunteering to be here to hopefully get a good experience. And so give them a good experience. I think if you're just, goes back, I mean, the base level is be cool. But I think all that is part of being cool is respect everybody, know what they do, respect the jobs, and know what you're asking of them when you're asking for something really hard or like, you know what, this shot's not working. We got to flip the whole thing. Like sometimes that happens. You don't want it to be the case, but that's the case. And so how can you recognize like I'm asking for a hard thing and I'm grateful for all you guys, but also we got to do it. So it's that, I think my friend said this one time, I think it's really great. Directing is a balance of humility and narcissism. It's the narcissism recognizing that everybody is here for you and the humility of everybody's here for you. So I think balancing those two things and then leading that direction, I think is how I try to do it now that I've messed it up.
I agree. I'm glad it's universal that you give the crew a good time, and then you go over to your producers going, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. I'm glad that's universal. I can't, every single movie, I warn my producers beforehand. There's going to be a time every day, at least once, for about 5 minutes where I'll pull you aside, and I say, am I losing the movie? Because I think I am. No, again, I think I'm just going to go over there and watch this guy talk, if that's cool with you. No, I agree completely.
Yeah, me too. I mean, like you said, the best way to lead people is to have been in the trenches before, doing the thing that you're asking them to do. So, you know, the advice to like go PA a shoot now and then, like even if you have directed something before, like be open to just like go. I don't know. I'm literally okay being VTR playback for the day. Like, what, you know, but then, you know, one thing I also really believe in is what you said about getting to know every single member of your crew. You know, if you're working on a feature and it's shooting for 15, 17 days, you know, I love the story of Sir Anthony Hopkins. It's like every set that he goes on, he spends lunch with a different crew member one-on-one every single day. So, and it's, you know, just sit down opposite Sir Anthony Hopkins and just talk, not about the movie, not about work, not about, you know, the industry, but just, you know, hey, where do you live? What do you like to do? And I think that's really important to keep that level of connection with your cast.
I think that's a great story, but I'm imagining the anxiety of if I was a PA.
For sure.
I'm only thinking of Hannibal Lecter.
Hannibal Lecter right in front of you.
Am I getting fired? Yeah. He's asking you, what do you do?
I don't know if I want to tell you, serial killer.
I
lock
eat
up
my mac and
traffic.
cheese now.
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins is here.
For sure.
Is there an element where you have to accept also that the buck stops? That you have to have the confidence to tell people to be the leader, you know,
For sure.
not try and be just friends with everybody.
Yes, there's that balance of like you're friendly and cool with everybody, but also like you're the authority figure on set. So like what he was kind of saying about, you know, even if you're directing stuff, I actually sort of mentioned directing stuff and volunteering and being on, you know, lower positions on set, and you see something you don't like. I believe that there's still a hierarchy on set. So if you're a PA and you see something, this is dangerous. If it's dangerous, then speak up, absolutely. But if you're just like, I don't like that motivation, what if he said this to the actor? That's something as you as a PA should keep in mind for when you make your movie. I don't know or really believe that should be going up to the director. Art is we're all very sensitive about it, and there's a lot of insecurity. And to have, it's one thing is your AD questions you, your DP questions you, your producer questions you. Those all make a lot of sense to have that tension and collaboration of pushback. So this is more just like a general warning of like, if you're at a below the line position, if you see something, again, unless it's dangerous, but if you see something you don't agree with and you wouldn't do yourself, awesome. keep that in your book of things you're going to do differently on your movie.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, let that director make the mistake. Just
Yeah.
let him do it.
Because also you could be wrong.
Yeah.
Plenty
yeah.
of times I've gone, I wouldn't do that, and then I keep watching and go,
Dang, that was a good idea, right?
dang, I wouldn't have done that.
But as far as the buck stops with you, like, yeah, like so like he's saying he's gone. Similarly, I've gone to the AD and producer and be like, I don't have it today. I've also gone to him and say, hey, there's gonna be times where you just do not understand what I'm doing, and I'm just telling you, let me have this.
Yeah.
I see it. We might cut it later, but I have to have it. This was my vision from the beginning. The first shot I ever thought of when I read the script. We're shooting this thing. I don't care if it doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
We're doing it. Sometimes I'm just like, well, it doesn't make sense anymore. We're scrapping it. But at the same time, it's you, and everyone's there for you. It goes back to that tension of everyone's there for you, and so you have to also demonstrate that, and not necessarily have to prove it all the time, but you have to live that. So that's that balancing of that ego and that humility of like, don't be an asshole, but also don't be a pushover, or don't. It's okay to not have an answer, but it's not okay to not know what you're doing. Like, that's not really okay. You really cannot show up to set as the director not knowing what you want to try and do. Things go wrong, the weather changes, actors suddenly, car accident or speeding ticket, or I had one recently, it was like, I've got my wife's out of town and I have to go take care of my kids. We're like, never at any point did you want to tell us that. Like, So he had to leave for like 3 hours. Like, well, this was a crucial character, so we have to keep shooting. What do we do? So things go wrong. It's not okay to not have an answer right then, but it's not okay to show up and not know what you want to try and do. So I think that is part of just the preparation and being a director and leading is having a plan.
Yeah, I think directing is just leading by example. So if you know that the art is never as important as the person, and work like you want your crew to work, I've almost every time it's work. You know, I've had examples where I've had some trouble, but almost every time, if you work how you want everyone else to work, they'll just fall in line, because it's a wonderfully fun and hard thing that we're all trying to do.
Yeah.
So,
For sure.
I like to think of it like your set dad.
Yeah.
You know, you're
Or
like
mom.
Or
mom.
mom.
Or mom.
Or mom.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, you have to know when to be empathetic and when to listen to a good idea, because you know, you might hear something from your production designer, your art director, like, hey, you know, I know this is how you want it, but did you think about, like, if you move the frame just a little bit, then it opens up this opportunity for me as an art director to do something really cool, right? So a good idea can really come from anywhere. But also, as set dad, you're playing the role of life coach, therapist, and sometimes hard ass, and being hard on people, you know. But you're not ever doing it with the intention of calling out an error. You know, you praise in public and you criticize in private. You know what I mean? So you go in every situation with never trying to tear anybody down for something you think that they've done wrong in your mind, but you know, being stern so that they can learn something from that situation without destroying their career and getting them blackballed from, you know, set. Yeah, life coach, therapist, dad. You know, you do have to know when the hard decisions have to be made, when you need the extra take, and when you've got your shot in the can 5 takes ago and it's time to move on. You know? And your first AD is definitely going to help keep you on track.
Yeah, so let the first AD be the jerk. Let them, you know, be mad about the time and everything else. You be everything he just said, I think, is absolutely accurate. Yeah. And I would say, because he's got a great point too, that a good idea can't come from anywhere. So if you are that below line person, you see it, you have a good idea, I'm hesitant to say go tell the director from the position. Get that information up to your department head. Let that get up to the AD. Let the AD then bring it to the director, and that way you still have to massage people's egos wherever you're coming from, whatever position you're in. You gotta be aware that, like, it's hard and stressful, and you're gonna default to an insecurity and an ego thing. Like, it's just sort of natural. So yeah, as far as
proper lines of communication.
Proper lines of communication. Yeah, so just let that go through the proper channel, and like, hopefully, if you have cool people on set, they'll be like, oh no way, it was the PA who had this great idea, and you go, oh, PA, thank you, it's a great idea. Yeah. But
actually.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Never mind. Scratch that. That guy. That guy's an idiot. So yeah, just proper lines of communication. But otherwise, yes, everything you said that's your job as a director, especially once you're on set. Because if you've prepped properly, like everyone, I mean, all your department heads and actors should know what they're doing. it's just a matter of capturing it. So it's just like, yeah, just be that lead, just lead. I think great directors are artists and lead, and then good directors can lead. And they don't have to necessarily be great artists. They can just understand story and lead a project. So
The only thing I would say from a different perspective, from that same question that you asked, is sometimes the buck doesn't stop with you, and that is when you're doing commercial work. Yeah, and the client's on set. And a lot of times you'll have a lot of flexibility when the client isn't on set. As a director, maybe you'll have a representative from the ad agency, like a creative director, who will be in your ear, and you don't really have to listen to them. It's probably a good idea to take what they say into consideration, but when the client's on set, it's a different vibe, because I've known clients to walk in to the middle of a take at 6 hours, so they shut down production so that they don't get overtime, for the unions and stuff like that, right? Which, that's their money, they can do what they want. But, clients who, if the director is not assuaging their concerns properly, can really insert themselves and totally like derail a production. So when you do have a commercial shoot and you're the director and the client's on set, you have to periodically break away and make time to break away, to go have a little one-on-one with them, tell them what the status is. It's something that the first AD can easily do, but they don't give a crap. Like, unless it's the director talking to them, they're gonna be huffy, right? And it's just how it goes.
AD's job, be huffy.
Well, no, I'm talking the client.
Oh,
the client.
right,
the client's gonna
also the AD's job is be huffy.
No, but the client will. There's a certain level of gravitas, or a certain level of gravity. Sorry, that comes with, in their minds, talking to. Oh, the director's coming. He's coming down from his ivory tower to tell me the status of what's going on, why he's doing what he's doing, which is totally unreasonable and stupid, but it's how they feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I know several client stuff we've done. Like, once the client shows up on set, it's often like, hey, come look at the monitor. Come, this is what we're doing. What do you think? It's looking good for you. We'll do a take. And before we even say anything, it's like, yeah, you feel good about that? Like, yeah, like, great. We want to try one more time with this. Or, great, let's move on. And, like, they're happy. Then let's go. So, yeah, once the client, I freaking hate clients. They're so annoying. But they also pay me. So you listen to what they say. But, yeah, definitely if a client's on set and it's that scenario, incorporate them, have them be aware. Some clients are more casual, sit back, and some will get up in that space. And so that's about balancing their ego with what you're trying to do, but also addressing the concerns, make sure the story's being told the way they feel good about. But I think if you include them like around the monitor and ask for how they feel after a take, like they tend to, the more pretentious ones or frustrating ones, not pretentious, but frustrating ones, I feel, if they feel incorporated and involved, like they're making the decision and they're justifying their salaries, then they're okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a big part of it. I would say before you move on.
A narrative story where maybe an investor's wondering.
Oh, certainly, yeah. If you have a financier, I mean, like, yeah, absolutely. Executive producer shows up, like, they're signing the paychecks, you hope you're already on board, but you're beholden to them.
Yes,
So-
Rhodes.
Directors have to understand story and subtext. They have to be editors. They have to have really good communication skills.
Yeah.
Um,
It's all easy. It's very easy.
It sounds like this is more business than art for the director. Would you guys agree or disagree?
It's a fine balance.
I haven't made $1.
But you have to.
Hats off to this man.
So
Vulnerability right there.
it's definitely, it's definitely the art for me. But I get what there's a lot of skills that are attributed to that world, I guess, that you
Part
need
of
to.
people don't.
Yeah. But I think the passion that you need to get a project through, a narrative one at least, the only one I can speak on, is you need to believe in the story, in yourself enough to get it through. So that, I mean, if that's not art, I've never done art. So I think all of it is just trying to figure out how to get what's in your head, really the world and the feeling in your head onto the screen as best as possible through a collaborative art form. And that's tough because you know a lot of the classical art forms that you're kind of solitary. You have all that control, and you can kind of just sit and get exactly the vision you want. But the beautiful thing and the thing that I love about film is that you never get what you want. You never get what you set out for at the beginning. I forget who said the quote that's, you write one movie, you shoot another, and you edit a third. And that's what's wonderful to me, because the art aspect of directing is I can watch one of my films from years ago and I can remember exactly what I was going through. I remember exactly how what I was living through informed my decisions of how I was going to make this movie and what emotions and what, exactly how I decided to paint it, So I think, yes, there's a lot of skills that are business savvy in that sense of being able to lead and being able to communicate and all that jazz, and delegate. But I think the biggest thing is, I don't know. We're all like finger painting in the dark, hoping we're getting the same picture, and it's so beautiful thing.
I like that metaphor. Yeah, I think maybe the broad stroke, just to continue that metaphor, of the art part of directing is the vision casting. It's reading the script and interpreting that in terms of how you want that to be presented. Because I think sometimes, especially early or even less experienced directors, will read a script and say, well, that's just, I need to figure a way to capture what's here, as opposed to reading the script and interpreting it and saying, okay, what is this saying to me and what's being spoken here, and how do I want to translate in a way that is reflective of me? For a long time, I just would read a script and like, well, that's what we're doing. This is just the blueprint. I'm really, at that point, I'm kind of just being a camera for the writer. And I think as I've evolved as a director, I've learned how to read a script and go, here's the themes that I'm hitting on that are resonating with me, and these are the images that come to mind. But I don't feel like it really needs to take place in this bar anymore. I think it needs to take place here. And so that's part of the manipulation and the interpretation of saying, this is what makes more sense to me for the story that I'm trying to tell based on what I read from the script. That's not to say you should read a script and then you should be trying to find new locations constantly. That's not what I'm trying to say. It's more just what's written there is an idea, and you're taking that idea and you're making a new idea, and then you'll edit a third idea. Yeah. So I think it's reading it and then saying, what does this need to look like? So I say director's vision. It's for me, my interpretation of it, and again, everything I've said is very much my opinion. You can be like, that's bullshit, and then walk away. But it is taking a concept and then presenting it to an audience in a way that you can get them to feel the way you felt when you read something. And so whatever that looks like. And so that comes down to the details of who are you casting? Why are you casting that person for that reason? What colors are we going to be looking at? And obviously, these are collaborations with your other people. Where does the camera go? I know I want a wide shot. A cinematographer might come in and start painting with light. But I want a wide shot because I want them to feel alone or isolated or whatever the situation calls for. That, I think, is the art part of it. And then it's communicating that. So it's a new art, and that's secondary art form. But that's the filmmaking art form for a director, in my opinion, is that how do you cast out a vision or come up with a vision and see it, and all the pieces, how they go together, and then take all of that and say, I need you to do this, I need you to do this, and you do this, and then come back to me with your cool ideas based on what I said. Not even so much what the script says anymore, so much what I say. Script's still important. I want to dismiss the script there.
Yeah. Have you guys seen The Fabelmans with Steven Spielberg life story?
Yeah.
There's a great scene in that movie where he's talking to his uncle, and it's sort of that critical moment where he realized family or art, and he's like, tear you apart.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to be a junkie for the art. We stick our heads in the lion's mouths and we take the risk. Really, that's what you're doing as a director. Everyone's going to hate you because of either how you made them look or how you didn't make them look. Everyone's going to interpret your story differently, the way that you told the story. Some people are going to get it. Some people are not going to get it. It doesn't matter. The only mission of a director is to leave people feeling something, anything, any emotion. The only failure is for people to be numb and not give a crap about the film. If they're just like, I feel no emotion about it. That is failure. Literally, you can make people feel angst. You can make them feel, sad or, nostalgic. great. That's your only mission as an artist, is to awaken some sense of feeling from people. But you got to know your audience. There's going to be people who really don't give a crap about the arts and about emotion. They only care about money. So you got to know how to talk money. You got to know how to tell people what the story of their dollar is going to be. What's your cash flow going to look like 30 days after production office closes? And why does cash flow matter to these people? Well, it's because every single day that this business is open, these lights are on, there's people coming in the door. We won today. Okay, there is no winning life. There's no winning business. There's no winning the film industry. You're only as good as your last movie, whatever, right? If you are here making a movie today, shooting something today, you already won. You never win, right? So being able to understand that same aspect applies to business, right? That their only mission is to stay in business every single quarter. And if they know that, your mission is to help them stay in business every quarter, and you're going to do that by giving them, a $250,000 investment in South Carolina at a 25% labor return for local labor and a 30% return for vendor and third-party expenses, can all occur within 30 days from production office wrap. Suddenly, that opens up a cash flow model that's repeatable. Okay, I put $250,000 in this investment, and the bank looks at it like, hey, you spent money. And then 30 days later, oh, you made some of that money back, even though we all knew from the beginning that it was the government that was going to pay them back anyway, right? That money can be used to then fund post-production. It can be used to jumpstart the development funds for the next movie. So it becomes a cycle. When you can break that down from a business aspect for people, suddenly they're going to believe in the artistic side as well, right? But then you might have people who are investors, right? Financiers who really don't look at the film industry or their investments in the film industry as anything remotely scalable or as large as the Topgolf, franchises that they own in Milan, right? It's like you have to appeal to your audience in a way that's like, okay, I realize that this person's really more considering this script as a way to evangelize something that they really care about. This movie has themes that resonate with this person on an actual intrinsic emotional level. Okay, so now let me turn on the artist. Okay, this person really only cares about the bottom line money. Okay, let me turn on the businessman, right? And I think that's
you gotta know all those things. And certainly it goes back to the beginning thing too. Like if you can produce and direct, awesome. That's a leg up. If you can be write and direct, it's still a leg up. If you can get somebody else who's a really good producer and who loves producing, but also can push you creatively, awesome. You don't have to do as much of that. You still need to know how to communicate it though, because you're in that meeting. The financier wants to know what the director's thinking, and the producer can give them all the numbers, but they want to know the director understands it. Like, so I think you don't have to master it necessarily if you have a producer. If it's just you, then certainly get close. But if you have a producer, yeah.
I just for anybody that doesn't know, can you guys talk more about an AD and what they do, or your experience with AD and why they're so important? Because I feel like this one
They save you from yourself.
I feel like this one that always gets left out because especially here where we don't have money and we don't do a lot of bigger stuff.
Sure.
How important it is and yeah.
Who'd like to go first?
I can tell you what I'll do is I'll send you my the list of movies that I've made, and you can see the quality line from before I used an AD and after. It's pretty clear.
That's good.
Yeah, I think
visual representation is helpful.
Yeah. No, an AD. The best ADs will break down your script for you, and they'll schedule things to where they'll talk to you about what do you need from a directing the actor standpoint, or if there's they take in all accounts of weather, location, all these other location rules and stuff like that, and they kind of plot your day. It's like if you're the guy that decides what battle we're going to take, they're the one plotting out the actual battle with the soldiers. They're the one getting all the ducks in a row for you. So where you on the day when you're freaking out about like, oh, I just can't get this line right, or I can't get this, the light's not right, or whatever. You can say, all right, well, how far behind are we? And they'll know. And, that's kind of their main job, is to make sure that the production as a whole gets the day that they set out to get, in whatever means possible. So they're your best friend. They're the best friend that tells you to stop doing stupid shit, and the one you need.
I mean, certainly I like to refer to them as the field general. Their job is to allow the director to focus on communicating with actors and camera placement, camera movement. So like when I'm ADing, certainly in the prep part of it is breaking down the script. I also will sort of blend I often will produce stuff that I also AD. So I'm blending, building a budget and also a schedule, and so I'm blending a little roles there a little bit. But I'll break it down, try to figure out what a schedule is going to look like. What days should go into the next day, especially if we're shooting multiple days. Shooting one day, it's more just, okay, how are we planning this whole day out? But then it's also going through the shot list with the director and the DP and going, okay, let's use this. Barbie here is like our scenario. We want shooting this way. We got, we're going to shoot here. Then I'm going to get coverage this guy over here. It's like, well, do we shoot anything else this direction first? And let's get all that shot and then flip the room, because that's going to save us a ton of time as opposed to bouncing back and forth. Which you'll see less experienced directors will kind of shoot, chronologically, or they'll shoot for the edit in their head. And it's like, cool, I know what you're trying to do, but stop.
It's like a logistics.
Logistics thing. So AD is a lot of logistics. And then when I first started out, it was always AD was like, oh, they're keeping track of time. Yes, they need to be aware of the time. I don't want an AD who's telling me I'm 20 minutes behind. I know I'm 20 minutes behind. Stop talking to me about that. What I want from my AD is to be ready for us to move on. When we're going to the next thing, he's already talked to props. He's already talked to wardrobe. He's already been like, okay, this actor's got makeup. Let's get them in there now because we don't need them for 3 shots. So they're already going and they're working. He's communicating to everybody else. So as me as the director, doesn't have to do any of that. And so when I say we're moving on, going to this next setup, he's like, great, bring in this person, props here, let's go for rehearsal. And we were smooth and we're moving. He is thinking, or she's thinking, 2 or 3 steps ahead of where we are to save time, because I'm trying to get this shot right, and it's the crucial shot. It's the key dialogue. We gotta take 20 takes on it, whatever it is, because it's the key one. We'll scrap. But he's also looking at the shot list and going, okay, hey DP, we have this shot and this shot. We combine them into a single shot, like make it one a dolly shot. Mix it up a little bit. He's like, yeah, sure, we can do that. We'll cut 3 shots out.
You got this wide, and you also have this tie to the same action. You want to just shoot that in 8K, and then
exactly. Yeah. So they're finding the solutions so we can save time. I don't want an AD telling me how far behind we are. I know a DP. It's the last thing. I've been, as an AD who didn't know better, been chewed out so many times by DP because I was like, hey, you're 40 minutes behind, and I've heard lots of words said back to me that were very unpleasant. They were, and we were still 40 minutes behind, but that doesn't help them. That helps nobody to tell them behind. They just get more stressed out. So instead, as the AD, look ahead and go, find a solution. Where can we save time? And come to the director and the DP and producer, say, here are my ideas. How we can save time? What do you want to lose? I actually shot one, and it was all exterior, and we were shooting in Florida, and they wanted to do the first half of the movie with overcast, with clouds, and it just because we'll control the clouds. And the second half of the movie, they wanted no clouds, and I was like, okay. First half of the movie, there's no clouds anywhere. That's what they want. They want overcast. There's no clouds, and they're like, how far are we behind now? He's like, well, we're behind. And I was like, you can shoot it now, or you can cut stuff later. I'm good either way. Yeah. Like, I'm fine. At the end of the day, it's not my movie. And my job is to get us out on time. I'm less worried about your story being right. I want to be out on time. Yeah. So you can wait for clouds, and we can do that if that's that important to you. Just know that when we get to the back end of this, we're going to start killing things. So if you want to talk now, we wait for clouds, what we're going to kill, let's do that. But otherwise, let's go. I'm not here to ruin your movie. I'm here to make sure we get out on time. Mm-hmm. So that's my opinion as far as the AD. But it's also vital, and all this stuff is vital, and it keeps things moving, like as you just said, keeps things moving smoothly, and you can get all the stuff you need because someone else is thinking about it. Yeah. So you, as the director, can stay focused on actors, on the performance, and what camera's doing, and what's happening there.
To put it simply, directors should know the story well enough to where when things do go wrong, they can adapt, and ADs are the same with the schedule.
That is so much faster than what I said. and absolutely correct. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, only other thing I would add to that is I think they also first ADs like direct the background.
Oh yeah. I love doing that. It's a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great time.
Jonathan, we'll go ahead.
How do you guys get a very specific performance out of an actor?
I love this question.
You get,
Take it away, go.
yeah.
Okay, let me tell you the biggest lesson I've ever learned as a director. One of the biggest lessons I've ever learned as a director. So, for years and years and years and years and years, trying to make movies, and I get so frustrated because, if you're working, in
Say we're going to try to move a little faster on the question.
Oh sure.
kind of got it. So, I'll go quicker.
I was directing it.
The biggest thing that I've learned is to lean into what your actors are giving you, because so many times I've gotten so frustrated on the day. You've had your rehearsals, you've had whatever. If you can, a lot of times I couldn't even do that, and you're trying to force an actor to give us a performance that you have in your head that you know that it should be. Every time I've tried to force it, it's felt that way, and I have regretted it. Every single time that I said, okay, let me see what they are actually bringing me and trying to do themselves, and lean into that, it's been better than I would have done before. I was filming a music video, the opening shot followed this little girl walking through a waiting room for a talent show. And in the script, she was supposed to be a dance mom, like pageant girl, singing, dancing, very obnoxious. And one of the people on crew said, oh, I have a little sister. She would love to do it. She did not. she was very much not happy to be there. And we got this, we got the Steadicam ready, we got all our actors, everything's ready to go. And she's very, reserved and not wanting to do it. And my first instinct was like, okay, I got to get her in the mood to do what I originally envisioned. So I was like, let's get loosey-goosey in here. And I was trying to be really big and goofy to make her feel more comfortable to be big and goofy. And it wasn't working, and I was like, come on. And she said, I said, no, I'm not doing it. And this was, we were tighter than we are now. So everyone's like, oh, and I was like, okay, that's okay. We'll take a 5. I went to my AD, and I was like, I have no idea what I want to do. He's like, okay, just take a second. I went back and said, new plan. So your character, your sister dragged you here. You do not want to be here. But you are now going to walk through this shot and judge every single person you see. Roll your eyes, give them, the stink face, whatever, and just enter your mark. She takes a pause and goes, I can do that. And it is so much funnier than it ever would have been.
That's awesome.
And I've had so many different
It's a good pivot.
so many different experiences like that. It's just where if you're in that moment where you're behind, freaking out, try to lean into what they're bringing you, because a lot of times it will be the answer you didn't think of.
I love telling actors to do things as opposed to being things.
Mm-hmm.
As an actor, it's so much easier to just do something. I want you to stumble over there. I want you to walk over there. I want you to attack them. I want you to seduce them, as opposed to be sexy or be angry. Those are hard. Those are a bit nebulous. It's hard to understand and have agreed upon understanding of that. So if I give a verb and I don't feel like they're delivering it the way I want, I either try to think of another verb, or I try to ask them what they're thinking and what's going on with them, so I can sort of try to interpret their interpretation of my words, so that I can sort of find the same language or same connotations to the same words. So certainly, if you can rehearse, that's huge, because you can get all a little nitty gritty and psychology of the character. But if you can't do that and you're on set and you're in a moment, it's so much easier to tell them to do something, and then if you can also give them the why they're doing it. I need you to seduce them. I need you to seduce them. I'm trying to think of a good way to use this, but to do an opposite, because adding confrontation or tension to it's always more exciting for an actor and just on screen. Seduce them because you're angry with them. Use it as a form of punishment. So punish them, seduce and punish. Might be something I might say to somebody. I think they can understand what that might look like, and then and I'll tweak from there. I don't know if that's a great example off the top of my head. So just really the action words. Then if we can discuss as much as possible, and then questions with
Directing
them.
actors, Judith Weston. Are you
Yes, yeah, that's
okay.
yeah.
You keep saying it. And I was like, he's
Yeah,
read. It's,
yeah. No, yeah,
read that
directing
book.
actors. Judith Weston. She has 2 books. Either one of them are great. I would say you can do this too. There's a little bit of a cost to it, but I think it's absolutely worth it. Take any of the Sundance directing classes or acting classes. It's all online. You get to work with actors, and you get to just engage with them in a different way, and you get to watch other people do things. It goes through the rehearsal processes. I think it costs like $500. So again, that can be too much for some people. I mean, it could be nothing, whatever. But I think it's worth checking out or trying to find it because those are really, really helpful, and it gives you hands-on experience and immediate feedback on what you're doing. But have a scene ready. But you can bring a scene, and you'll actually have actors perform your stuff.
Yeah. Only thing I would add to that is just don't be prescriptive. You know, I think it's kind of a natural instinct to say, no, but do it like this, and then like act it out, right? Last thing you want to do.
100%.
Casting with actors, what do you guys look for more so? I know obvious roles are going to be specific, but is there something that you're looking at that demonstrates the it factor for the actors that you're choosing?
Oh man. Mostly I hate the process because it'll be a thing where like I'm casting 3 roles and 700 people audition, and it's like I have to say no to 697 of these people, and like so all actors, just hats off to you guys. Like that's hard, and just know on my end I hate it because there's a lot of people who are really good, and I have to say no to almost all of you. But as far as the thing that stands out. God, it's tough because it so depends and specific. I don't know that I couldn't honestly say there's a thing. So I have to sort of step back and just apologize for how many times I have to reject people. I'll say that instead.
Could you be a cute girl?
I personally don't mind 2 takes of something if your second take is deeply unique from the first one. I'd love to see just that there's a range of things. And if it's obviously a drama and you try to make it a comedy, cool. I also appreciate the balls of that. So I don't mind that. A lot of people who will be like, don't ever do that. For me, I don't care, especially if it's like a minute-long thing. I'll take 2 minutes to watch something different and to see how it just pops. And also, I can see range. I can see you can do something. It's like, okay, well, I can work with that. And maybe it's not this role, but it's like this role though, this person can take care of that. So yeah, that's me.
Honestly, yeah, it's and this coming from an actor myself, I don't know what that special sauce is. You know, I've had plenty of examples of films where I thought, you know, when I was writing it, I knew who was going to be in it, and then that ended up not being the case. So, yeah, I think it's just one of those things of where I'm a believer of things happen the way they're supposed to. So it's just one of those things of like the cast will find the movie and vice versa. So
I know it sounds like simple and dumb, but eye contact, like looking into the lens, the way that you can really feel authenticity from somebody is their eyes, right? And I mean, that's if you really believe what you're saying and you believe the character that you're supposed to be becoming as an actor, you know, you're going to see it in your eyes. And a lot of times I see reads where people are interacting with the person reading sides, you know, across from them. And I don't ever feel like I get a good sense of just who they really are as that character. And so I think even my recommendation would be, even if the script calls for you to be interacting with another character in the film that's supposedly like off camera, or maybe you're imagining it as an actor as maybe an over the shoulder or something, you're talking to somebody, just look in the lens, show them who you are, you know. That's
Actually, I don't disagree with that. Yeah, I wouldn't be mad if that happened. Yeah. I also, again, this is personal. Again, I don't want to speak for all directors and casting agents, but I don't mind someone interpreting the slides I give them, because usually the slides aren't necessarily reflective, especially if they're going for a short. It's an essence. The sides are an essence of the story. They're rarely from the actual script. So I don't mind someone taking that and interpreting, because I also get to see I get to see a different talent. I get to see you interpreting material as opposed to relaying material. Similar to it also comes from a guy who reads the script and goes, I'm interpreting this material. I'm not relaying this material. So I love seeing that from other people as well. the interpretation as opposed to relaying, because you're going to bring up things that I'm not prepared for in a good way, I hope.
I honestly can't answer this question properly, but I would say dynamics, if you can take direction and change things up properly.
Certainly.
Instead of just
Oh yeah, especially if it's a thing where it's not, if it's a tape, yeah, I guess everything I was saying is in regards to a tape, but if it's like virtual call, then yeah, certainly I'm going to try and like challenge you, your chance to range, make you pivot hard on something and dramatically, like the absolute opposite of what I said before, just to be like, yeah, how quickly can you move? And I know it's hard. I'm sympathetic to it.
We'll stop there. Thank you
All right,
guys
cool.
so much for.
Yeah, that was fun. Talking's great. Thank you guys.
I'm sure we can ask